Hello and welcome to what's in this week's Oban Times with me, Finn Nixon.
Me, Kathy Griffiths.
And me, Sandy Neal.
It has been another busy week for news here in Oban, Argyll and the Islands. There are plenty of interesting stories and images in the Oban Times newspaper and at www.obantimes.co.uk this week. And remember that we are always happy to hear your stories and see your photographs as well. You can call us on 01 631 568 000, email editor@obantimes.co.uk or drop us a message on Facebook, Instagram or X, formerly Twitter. What news do you have for us this week, Kathy?
Well, big round of applause. Easdale Medical Centre's Fiona Cruikshanks is officially Nurse of the Year. Fiona, who is part of the Oban and Lawn Community Nursing Team and lead nurse at the GP surgery on Seal, brought the trophy home to Ling after winning the accolade at the Scottish Health Awards, chosen from 900 nominations country-wide. For more than 30 years, she's dedicated her career to patient care and was humbled to get an invite to the glitzy ceremony in Edinburgh. And she says her win was great recognition for the community nurses everywhere who were usually the unsung Cinderellas of the NHS. And there's a bit of a buzz about helping make Braille labelling for food products become law in Scotland. I've been chatting to Ganavan beekeeper Stephen Sunderland, who's also Vice President of the Scottish Beekeepers Association and sells honey from his apiaries in Oban. And he's one of more than 1,300 people so far who've signed a petition spearheaded by Oban campaigners and 2 other charities wanting to make that kind of Braille labelling mandatory. Currently, it's only medicines that have to have Braille labelling on them. The master bee farmer, who was one of the Scottish Government's lead bee inspectors before retiring, he's on a mission to get other beekeepers and farmers countrywide to Braille label their products too. And he read all about it in the Oban Times, so there we go. Remembrance Weekend's coming up Friday at about 1:30pm if you're in town. We're expecting a fly past over Oban Bay. 11am on Saturday there will be an act of commemoration in the Garden of Remembrance in George Street, and there's some poignant exhibitions on at the Rockfield Centre, so please go and see them and make time to read all the information and look at the pictures. It really is incredibly touching and moving. And of course there's going to be the Remembrance Parade in Oban, leaving the Coroner Halls on Sunday at 10:30am to reach the 100-year-old War Memorial on the Esplanade. And also, if you've got time and you're, well, actually, Sandy and Finn, how's your geography?
How is my geography? Thank you for asking, Kathy, live on air. It's okay, but I think if you asked me for some capitals around the world, I think I would probably get over half wrong.
I think pronunciation would be where I would fall down. I would know where it was, but I wouldn't be able to pronounce it correctly.
Well, we're only talking Scotland here. The biggest map of Scotland ever is coming to Oban this Saturday to the Atlantis Leisure Centre, and it's all in pieces. It's like a giant jigsaw. So looking for people to go along about 11 o'clock-ish. It's free to go in. Go and have a go at piecing together this giant jigsaw of Scotland. And that's Adventure Oban and Atlantis Leisure Centre. They're the people behind that. So yeah, sounds fun. So maybe you should go along, Sandy and Finn.
Yeah,
and
educate ourselves. Yeah,
educate yourselves,
yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Kathy, and I might just go along and see what's happening down at Atlantis Leisure. I'm looking forward to reading all of those stories in this week's newspaper, but what about you, Sandy? What have you been finding out about this week?
Well, witches, zombies, terrifying clowns, a mangled rabbit and a banana. Halloween costume parties at Rockfield and St Columba's primary schools had it all. We've got the pictures in this week's paper. A special celebration to mark the transformation of a former gunpowder factory near Oban into one of the UK's most loved tourist destinations is set to go off with a bang. And talking of which, Saturday saw one of the most impressive fireworks displays in Oban for many years. If you missed it, we've got spectacular photos. And in the Loch Arbor Times, Highland Council's plan for a new Corran ferry is not good enough, the Deputy First Minister told a protester. The Corran Action Group held a protest over the ongoing Corran ferry problems at the Scottish Rural and Islands Parliament in Fort William, securing a meeting with the Deputy First Minister, Shona Robertson. Find out what was said. Back to you, Finn.
Well, thank you very much, Sandy. And a lady on Colonsea who lost her home in a fire last month while she was on holiday with her 2 children has been overwhelmed by the support from the island community. Luckily, the community of around 125 people has rallied around, holding a ceilidh and silent auction to raise money for Susan Dance and her family. Amazingly, more than £5,000 has been raised so far, with all the details on how to donate to the GoFundMe page in this week's newspaper and online. I also heard about Rockfield Primary 4 pupil Finn MacDonald, who did brilliantly in his Royal National Mod debut last month to win gold in Paisley. According to Finn's mum, Kirsty, he is absolutely hooked on singing now. Perfect timing before next year's mod comes to Oban. An Oban man has also told us about how he rebuilt his life after a car crash to become a top offer in America. And in this week's Lochaber Times, you can read about the plight of Durer Primary School, with parents worried that Highland Council will decide to mothball their local school when its roll is halved from 4 to 2 this summer. Meanwhile, in the sport, the second edition of the Oban Professional Squash Association event proved a success. Atlantis Leisure hosted the Oban Tennis and Squash Club organised event, with 24 players from 9 countries competing against each other. We also have a roundup of all of the last round matches of the on-field shinty season, with Kyle's Athletic facing Oban Camanachd and Scotland's women's side in action in Ireland. It was an early exit for Oban Saints in football's Scottish Amateur Cup after they were well beaten by Houston Athletic, losing 3-0 in Johnston. Tainal's trials rider, Ewan Sim, has been looking back on a successful year. The 14-year-old became the youngest rider to compete in the top adult expert route Scottish Championships 2023. And it was another entertaining round of darts in the Oban and Districts Darts League at the Clarendon Hotel. Find out who threw the best dart this time around in this week's newspaper. So don't forget, you can read all these stories and much more at www.obantimes.co.uk or by picking up a newspaper in local shops and petrol stations from Thursday. We also love hearing from you, so if you have a story, please get in touch. You can call us on 01 631 568 000, email editor@obantimes.co.uk or drop us a message on one of our social media platforms. For now though, thank you for listening, and it's goodbye from me, Finn Nixon.
Goodbye from me, Kathy Griffiths.
And goodbye from me, Sandy Neal.
Bye.
Bye.